key in that, and it's the legalization State of the Union. So please give a very warm welcome to Radical Russ Belville.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone is able to get a card. My name is Russ Belville. I'm the host of the Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org, and we have this new web app that we've developed. Allows you to get the radio on your cell phone, so you can just take it with you wherever you go. It's 24-hour marijuana legalization talk radio. The kind of stuff I'm going to show you in the State of the Union speech is the kind of stuff we talk about every day. So if you want to be a well-informed marijuana activist, business person, or just advocate, then check out 420 Radio. We'd appreciate it. All right, so got some stuff in my pocket here. Let me take care of this. I wanted to, there we go, Russ Belville Show. And since this is the marijuana legalization State of the Union address, this is me getting a look at what has changed in marijuana law across the United States and what we're doing to change it in the future. We have the 2016 election coming up, and that's going to have a lot of impact on how marijuana legalization progresses throughout the rest of the states. Since I'm recording this for my podcast, I'm curious, and rather than a show of hands, I'm just going to have you do a shout out. If you're here from out of state, what state are you from? Right on, right on. And that's just the thing that's so amazing to me when I do this event. I've been out interviewing people. I interview people in the line, and so many out-of-staters here in Denver. It's kind of like a pilgrimage, isn't it? It's like before I die, I must go to Denver for 420. So I'm so glad that you took some time out from out there, because I know how much fun it can be, to be in here. And I want to just say that the state of the marijuana union is strong. And the reason I can say that, and to say that very, very positively, is because I can do this. I just walked by some cops that were standing in the foyer. I can do that in front of them. And so can you. And that's the beauty we're living in now. A time that older reformers like myself and folks that are older than me never thought they'd ever live to see. I have so many older friends who've been in this movement for a long time that are just so happy. And I see some young faces out there as well, and I'm kind of jealous. Do you realize that a high school senior graduating this year has never lived when there wasn't medical marijuana in at least one state? Think about that. That's why we're winning. That's why the state of our union is so strong, is because they can't overcome the youth. Whitney Houston once sang, "I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and watch them lead the way." And that's what's happening. I see so many young faces out there, guys that are doing startups for millions of dollars, guys, ladies that are putting together businesses that are kicking butt and taking names, and so many under the age of 30, and I'm so happy about that when we live in a country, but it's so expensive to get a college education. And so many of our other industries have been offshored or downsized that we have built our own industry and we're taking it to the future. Doesn't it feel good? Yeah. So if we're going to move forward, we need to know where we've come from. We need to know where we're at. And so that's what the first part of this presentation is all about in the marijuana State of the Union. First of all, how many of us are there? Well, they do a survey, the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, at the University of Michigan, and they ask people, have you smoked marijuana? How often do you smoke marijuana? When's the last time you smoked marijuana? Can I get some marijuana? No, that's not on the quiz. But they ask people, and this is the latest survey results. Now, when I do these, keep in mind for the rest of this talk, I'm talking about people 21 and older. If I had my brothers, if I could wave a magic wand, the age for marijuana legalization would be age 18 and your high school diploma. Or enlistment in the armed services, right? But I see, if you're old enough to vote for president, if you're old enough to carry a rifle in the sand, you're old enough to put a joint in your hand, right? But there's practical realities, political realities. And for now, in the starting stage of the legalization, it's going to have to be 21 and older. I don't like it. There's a lot of things I don't like about politics, and this is one of them. But we're going to go with that, 21 and older. So they ask folks, have you smoked marijuana this year? And how often? And this is the result. 25 million adults in America have used marijuana at least once this year.
And we're willing to admit it.
I'm so glad she said that, because that's another very salient point. We are talking about the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, which is a federally funded program at the University of Michigan that has someone from the federal government calling people on a telephone and saying, "Hi, I'm from the government. Do you smoke pot?" So the numbers may vary. They're probably a lot greater than that. But hell, let's use the government's numbers. They're good enough, right? That's a hell of a lot of people as it is. 25 million adults over the age of 21 smoke pot annually. Folks, that's more tokers than Texans. Where's my Texans? Yeah. You know, they say don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with tokers. There's 25 million of us, and rare tokers. They ask them, how many times have you smoked pot this year? People that have smoked pot between 1 and 11 times. So, you know, once a month or less, 7 million of them. Once a week, that would be 12 to 52 times, 5.6 million. Casual tokers, up to twice a week, 2.2 billion. Regular, up to 4 times a week, 3.2. Frequent, 2.7, that's 6 times a week. And then, my people. Where are my people? Yeah. 7-day-a-week tokers. This is up to 7 days a week, so something like 333 days up to 365. There are 3.8 million of us in this country. All right, so let's break this down a little bit. We know there's a lot of us now. This is the breakdown by age. We're going to start with young people, 21 to 25. Any 21 to 25s here? Cool, you got to have to say something because it's a podcast. Yay! All right, 26 to 34? 35 to 49? Yeah! 50 to 64? Yeah! 65 and older? There we go, man! All right. So we break that down, and again, we're doing the same shading, right? The dark gray is the 7-day-a-week. The light green there is the once-a-month people. Take a look. Where do you fit in that graph? Right there. There you are, aren't you? I can tell. So that's kind of a look at, you know, how often are we toking? How much are we toking? And that's a whole hell of a lot of people that are doing this on a very regular basis. There's no reason that 25 million of us need to be criminals in any state. You with me on that? Yeah. Let's break it down another way. Ladies? Ladies! Ladies, I want you to talk to your girlfriends. How many of you ladies out there have girlfriends who don't smoke pot? Few. You gotta get them to smoking pot. There's a consistent problem that we have in polling. When you ask men and women about marijuana legalization, men are 7 to 10 points higher, I guess that's the right word, in support for marijuana legalization. Men, as a majority, support marijuana legalization. Women do not. With women, at best, it's a plurality, and most of the times it's a split, like 48-48. And I believe that has to do with the fact that there's not as many women tokers, or at least not willing to admit that they're tokers. Those rare tokers, it's 4.7 million men to 4.0 women. But when you get into the daily tokers, it's 2 to 1, almost, men to women. So ladies, if you're looking for a fella, start toking. There's a whole lot of us in that bar graph looking for you then. But this gives you an idea of some of the gender breakdown in our State of the Union. Now, we all had our shout-outs, where we're all from. Take a look there and find your state. On the rainbow of states here, the red side, this is annual marijuana use. The red side is 7 to 8% of the people in your state, age 21 and older, smoke pot. Orange is 9 to 10, yellow is 11 to 12, green 13 to 14. What's that, aqua? 15 to 16, 17 to 18 in the blue, and the purple states, 19 to 20. Or here's a simpler way to think about it. Red and orange, less than 1 out of 10 people smoke pot. Blue and purple, about 1 out of 5 people smoke pot. Colorado, 19.3%. Sorry to say, my home state of Oregon got you beat, 20.9. But it rains a lot in Oregon. We got nothing else to do. So. Then you got Alaska, 20.8. You got Rhode Island, 20.6. And then you got the worst states here, Utah, Nebraska, and Mississippi. Anybody from Utah, Nebraska, or Mississippi? Right there, you know what it is, right? You know what I'm saying? Not so cool. But there you go, that kind of gives you an idea of what's happening, you know, across the nation. This is going to be a tough nut to crack here, trying to get legalization in the South, but I think we can do it. I think there's a way to appeal to conservative Southerners by saying it's states' rights, none of your business, stop wasteful government spending. I think we can make those arguments, but I've always thought the legalization argument was kind of a conservative argument at its heart anyway. I'm kind of middle of the road on those kind of issues, but anyway, here's another way to look at weed. Sometimes our opponents say, well, if we legalize weed, it'll drop the price. More kids will smoke pot. Well, we don't want more kids smoking pot. Although, if they're trading it for keg stands, maybe. If they're trading it for Adderall, maybe. But for the most part, no, we don't want kids smoking pot. Well, this is a scatter graph. Where on here, this is how often a state smokes marijuana monthly, right? So the ones up here are the real heavy toker states. Down here, not token so much. And then, oops, back up, Russ. And then here we have the price of an ounce, high quality. Low price, high price. So the states over here, weed is cheap, and the states over here, weed's expensive. And you notice how it's just a big splatter? Usually when there's some sort of correlation, you get a nice line that'll run up that graph. They'll all kind of correlate to a line like that, or they'll correlate to a line like this. But here they're all over the place. Hell, Oregon, high teen use, cheap weed. Vermont, higher teen use, more expensive weed. Utah, low teen use, kind of expensive weed. Mississippi, low teen use, really expensive weed. And it's all over the place. So the price doesn't seem to really correlate with whether our kids are smoking weed. And then the blue triangles are the adults as well. So all of the states fit in there somewhere on that graph. And again, not to brag, but Oregon's got the best on this graph. I'm pushing that Oregon thing. I'm just saying. Just saying. All right, let's take a look at the future. Let's take a look at the future by starting in the past. The first legalization we got, of course, we started off Washington and Colorado. You legalized in 2012. As an out-of-stater, let me say thank you. Let's give it up for Colorado for legalizing and starting this today. So I can do this. I got some weed. All right, so y'all started the ball rolling, but one of the downsides of getting the ball rolling is you're first, and that means you get to make the first mistakes in legalization. There have been a few mistakes, I think. I think one mistake that we've made in legalization is overtaxing marijuana. Anyone agree with that? Yeah. Too much taxation. And it's always been a difficulty kind of trying to sell legalization, because on the one side you want to say, yeah, we'll raise tax revenue, but on the other side you don't want the state so dependent on the tax revenue that they want to keep that tax high. So that's been something that Washington and Colorado really have kind of had to struggle with. Colorado with your 10%, your 15%, your sales tax. Washington's got 25%, 25%, 25%, and sales tax. It's pretty darn expensive weed. So that's one thing we got to cure. I think another thing nobody was really ready for was edibles. I think nobody was ready for how much edibles would dominate the market. It's like 40, 50% of the market in some places. People get edibles. And I think the mistake that was made in legalization that led to that happening was not giving us a place to toke. I can't toke in the park. I can't toke outside. I can't toke in the restaurant. I can't toke in my hotel room. I guess I'll buy a cookie. I'm telling you right now, if Maureen Dowd had a place to smoke a joint, you would have never got that New York Times column about, oh, I was going to curl up in a ball, I was going to die. That would have never happened. People kind of intuitively understand a joint, and even if they don't, even if they're a brand newbie, never smoked in their life, inhaling it's self-titrated. You smoke it, I feel it. Right then. There's no mistaking it. Brownie. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. Holy shit, I feel it. That's the problem with the edibles, right? So I don't think we anticipated that. And I think one of the cures is to give people a place to toke. Let's set up vapor lounges, coffee bars, social clubs, whatever the hell we're going to call it, I don't care. A building where all of us can get together and smoke pot. Like this. Any harm in this? I don't see anybody fighting, any big problems. Yeah, it's been a beautiful thing. Anybody know about the Seattle Hemp Fest? Seattle Hemp Fest, 3rd weekend of every August, they do, it's got like 150,000 people in a 1.2 mile park for 3 days, openly smoking pot, having a good time. And I go talk to the Seattle Police Department, I always ask them, hey guys, would you rather be working Hemp Fest or a Seahawks game? Not one of them picks the Seahawks game, because they sell beer there, and they got a lot of rowdy drunks there, and, well, it is the Seahawks, I mean, come on, would you want to work them? All right, so 2012, we start off with Washington and Colorado. 2014, we had my home state of Oregon, we had Alaska. But Oregon and Alaska got to go second. They got to look at what Colorado and Washington did and say, well, let's tweak this a bit. Let's see what we can do different. So here are some of the differences. We got Colorado and Washington in this 2 columns, and Oregon and Alaska in these 2. And then what you're allowed to possess. Now, it's an ounce across the board for all of them. But home possession is one place I think Colorado did it right, and the rest of them have done it wrong. Colorado says, you grow 6 plants and you can have the results of your harvests. And those plurals are very important. Yes, officer? Oh, those 200 pounds? Why, those are the results of my harvest. I've had a lot of harvests. So that was smart. Alaska's close. Alaska has this thing called Raven v. State. This was way back in 1975. They took it to the Supreme Court. Alaska's constitution has a privacy right that's better than any other state's. It's a really strong privacy right. And the judges in the Supreme Court ruled that there was not a probable cause strong enough to bust people for having 4 marijuana plants, or 25 plants or 4 ounces in their house. The right to privacy outranked the probable cause of a little bit of marijuana on their terms. So when Alaska legalized, it was already kind of legal, a little bit. They had a pretty good right. You had to stay at home. There was no place to shop. But at home, at least you were safe. Now, as far as the infused edibles, here's where I think Washington and Oregon got it right. Washington copied Oregon. We're on the same border, right? So it kind of makes sense to have the same limits. Colorado and Alaska have this where you can have an ounce in the edible. So I have, 18 pans of brownies, and there could be an ounce within that whole pan total. How do you measure that? How do you got to take it to a lab, right? Oregon and Washington said, let's just come up with a simple limit: a pound of edibles and a gallon of tinctures. Do you think people really need that much for personal use? Why, yes I do. Absolutely. Concentrates are all the same, an ounce of concentrates, but Oregon has done something that's a little scary for people. They've banned homemade concentrates. Not just the making of them, but also the possession of them. The only concentrates you may have in Oregon are those bought from the store. Stores don't exist yet. So there's no such thing as legal concentrate in the state of Oregon at this point. That's a little scary. On the other hand, somebody in your apartment complex blowing out the wall and getting on the evening news is kind of scary too. So this has been a tough balancing act. I always like to compare this whole, marijuana BHO explosions to turkey fryers. There's like thousands of homes that catch fire every year from somebody dumping a turkey in hot oil. I'm not talking about banning that or having to get special licenses. We have educational campaigns to tell people, hey, don't drop the turkey in the freaking oil. So we can have the same educational campaigns when it comes to home extraction. We can have some sort of licensing maybe. We can have some compromise here, but I think banning outright people's ability to make concentrates goes a little too far. Finally, personal production, home grow. Washington really messed up there. Illegal, no home grow in Washington. And they're still looking to invest that, but so far the bills that have come through have not given anyone the right to home grow. Colorado and Alaska got this right. Alaska really got this right with their Raven decision with the 25 plants. 6 plants, all right, fine. It should be more, but we got to start, right? Oregon made it just 4 plants, and not per person, but per household. So like you got 2 roommates, you're living in one house, you get 4 plants total. So that's messed up. We got to get that fixed. On the other hand, nothing about legalization sucks worse than prohibition. Period. Come on, clicker. No, it's got a new battery here. Let's just try and reboot. You know what they say, reboot usually works. And then, oh, there we go. All right, so we got legalization differences, and what difference has it made that Colorado and Washington have legalized marijuana? This is your difference. This is a graph of all marijuana arrests, color-coded by U.S. president who was president at the time. Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, and Obama. You can see it went up a lot there in the Nixon. And it kind of stabilized throughout Ford, Carter, Reagan, and Bush. You know, we think of Reagan as just say no, anti-drug. But really, that was mostly cocaine they were going after at the time. Crack. I mean, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying it didn't really go up, the number of arrests. The president who had the greatest increase in marijuana arrests, I did not inhale. I didn't like it. Bill Clinton. Oh, and by the way, that may be true. Christopher Hitchens, who went to Oxford with Clinton, said that Bill Clinton was actually fond of the brownies. So he may not have ever inhaled again. Depends on the definition of the word is. All right, and then Bush went up a little bit, and now, during Barack Obama's term, we have had the first 4-year consecutive drop in marijuana arrests nationally. Yeah. Now, how much do we give that to Barack Obama? How much do we give that to Washington and Colorado legalizing, California decriminalizing? I'll give it a 50-50, right? Because he could have tried to stop it, but he didn't. Obama's kind of had this, well, look, you know, whatever, legalize, just keep me out of it, man. So, okay, that's fine with us. So we are up to now 25 million arrests that have happened in the war on drugs, 25 million. And of those arrests, 7 out of 8 arrests are for possession. In Texas, the Texans, 97% of arrests are for possession. 97% possession in Texas. And half of all drug arrests, 1.5 million drug arrests in America, half were for marijuana. This is why they are terrified about us legalizing marijuana, because it takes away the main pillar in the war on drugs. Pot smells. Easier to catch potheads than people with coke or meth or heroin. Pot users are docile and cooperative. Oh yeah, officer, I was just smoking this joint, sorry. They don't want those easy arrests to go away. They like those easy. Everybody wants their job to be easier. And there's a lot of money involved. Asset forfeiture. If you know anything about this asset forfeiture. Anybody here from New Mexico? I met a few in the line. New Mexico's governor just signed the first law that eliminates all civil asset forfeiture. Yeah. Civil asset forfeiture, if you don't know, that's where the cops take your stuff, even if they don't charge you with a crime, and they charge your stuff with a crime, and your stuff is guilty until proven innocent. They literally have cases like